Can the Dallas Mavericks win their first playoff series since 2011 in Game 6 in Utah, or will we be back in Dallas for a Game 7 where Luka Doncic has a chance to send his team to the second round of the playoffs? This is Inside the Mavs right here on Kevin Gray Sports. My name is Kevin Gray. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to hit that subscribe button right there for all things Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube. You can catch me on your home with the Dallas Cowboys and Texas Rangers, 105.3 The Fan. The Dallas Mavericks had their final practice before they head to Utah for game number 6 on Thursday as they get ready to try and beat the Jazz to close them out in their first round series. Or can the Jazz stave off elimination and get it back to Dallas for Game 7 on Saturday, where Luka Doncic and the Mavericks would have home court advantage, of course, in Game number 7. The Mavericks, of course, got a dominant 25-point victory over the Utah Jazz in Game number 5, holding the Utah Jazz to just 10% shooting from the three-point line, holding Donovan Mitchell to a negative 38 plus-minus in Game number 5. The most dominant defensive effort that we've seen from the Dallas Mavericks this season, holding the Utah Jazz to their lowest point total during the first half of this year. Can they duplicate that kind of defensive effort on the road in Utah to try and close out the Utah Jazz? This is a team in the Mavericks who all season has bounced back from adversity, has bounced back from losses, and has performed extremely well. And they did so bouncing back from the Game 4 devastating loss where they held a 4-point lead with 39 seconds to come back to Dallas, put together a dominant effort led by Luka Doncic, and more importantly, the defensive effort from Dorian Finney-Smith and what he was able to do against Donovan Mitchell to get that pivotal Game 5 win to set up the scenario for the Dallas Mavericks to be able to close out game number 6 on the road in Utah and move on in the Western Conference playoffs. The character of this team has been fantastic all season long. I asked head coach Jason Kidd about that when it comes to this team and their ability to bounce back. What is it about this team and the character that they've shown this year to put themselves in position to now be able to possibly close out this series on the road? Here's what Jason Kidd told me.
This team's had a special ability this season to bounce back after losses and dealing with adversity. What about the character of this team has gotten them to that point where, after coming off of a Game 4 loss, they can have that kind of performance in Game 5?
Yeah, I think we talked about it. I think before the game is the journey we've been on. We've been in different situations. We've won games. We've lost games. And can we, learn from those? And I thought, again, the character of this team is, we found a way to win up there in Game 3 and put ourselves in a position to win Game 4, but we didn't get the W. But we came back home, and we still believe that if we played the way we have been playing here of late, that it puts us in a position to win. But you're never guaranteed to win, and we saw that with the last 40 seconds in Game 4. So, again, we got to execute and trust and keep playing hard.
So he's saying, look, it's about staying in character, being the same team that we've been all season long, understanding how to overcome adversity, but also not doing things outside of ourselves that would get us in trouble. That's exactly what they'll need to be going into Game 6. We could talk about the rebounding, which the Dallas Mavericks actually won in Game number 5. We could talk about the three-point shooting that we saw in Games 2 and 3 that helped the Dallas Mavericks without Luka Doncic be able to win those 2 games. We could talk about Game 5 and the defensive effort that they put together in Game 5 to be able to get the dominant win that they did. We could talk about the lack of poise down the stretch in Game number 4 that saw them blow a 4-point lead with 39 seconds left. All of those things now don't matter when you get to Game 6 and possibly Game 7. These two teams know each other extremely well. Who will execute down the stretch better? Who will remain poised in the biggest of moments in this game? And more importantly, how will the Dallas Mavericks respond to any adversity that they deal with in Game number 6? We could talk about all the X's and O's. We could talk about all the screens, all the things offensively that the Mavericks have done well and have not done well in this series. We could talk about all the things that Utah has done well and not done well in this series. This now comes down to who wants it more. Can the Utah Jazz stave off elimination, or can the Dallas Mavericks put themselves in position to utilize a killer instinct to be able to win this game in Game number 6? I asked Dwight Powell about that in terms of what this team will need to do and what does staying in character personally mean to him when it comes to this team and sticking together. Here's what Dwight Powell told me.
Jason Kidd talks about staying in character as a team. What does that mean to you personally going into a situation like this, knowing what's on the line going into Game 6 tomorrow night?
I mean, it means just that, staying in character. We've done a lot of things to get to this point. In all of our roles, we've tried our best to be consistent, and that's something we're going to continue to do. And the effort has always been there. It's going to continue to be there. And knowing where to be, when to be there, and have each other's back is going to be key going into tomorrow.
Dwight Powell saying, look, we have to stick together, stay in character, do the things that we're capable of doing to put ourselves in the best position to win. The best example of that we saw, obviously, in game number 5 when Luka Doncic went up to try and dunk it on Hassan Whiteside, a hard foul, and you saw his teammates rush to his aid to ensure that he was okay. Dorian Finney-Smith, Reggie Bullock. That moment right there symbolizes how together this team has been all season long, and they will need that togetherness in game number 6 to be able to put themselves in position to win this game. Yes, they will have to shoot the three-point ball well in this game. Spencer Dinwiddie has to be much better in this game. There are a lot of different things that when you look at what happened in games 3 and 4, obviously game 3 without Luka Doncic, Jalen Brunson, and what he was able to do, driving to the basket, being able to put pressure on the defense, and then obviously in game 4, the offense, especially the ball movement, picked up in that third quarter where they outscored the Utah Jazz by 15 to take a 3-point lead going into that fourth quarter. That is going to have to be the key for this Dallas Mavericks team on the road. Let the ball have the energy, moving the basketball, but knocking down open three-pointers, unlike they did in game number 5. Davis Bertans, Josh Green, Maxi Kleber, all of these individuals will have to be much better knocking down the three-point shot. And the bench of the Dallas Mavericks has to come up huge in this game, especially Spencer Dinwiddie, who has struggled mightily in this series with this shot, has had some decent moments in this series, but he will have to be at his very best in game number 6 to knock out the Utah Jazz. Defensively, we saw the Dallas Mavericks be much better in game 5, doing the kinds of defensive guarding, the rotations, and all the things that you want them to do without fouling. In game number 4, you saw the Utah Jazz shoot 42 free throws, including Rudy Gobert shooting 18 of his own. The Mavericks literally cut that in half in game 5, and Utah only shot the free throw at the free throw line 21 different times. This is going to be huge for the Mavericks going into game 6. Guarding without fouling, making sure that guys like Maxi Kleber and Dwight Powell are not getting into foul trouble, and getting off to a good start and waving and making sure they are riding the wave of momentum that they can build for themselves on the defensive end, but more importantly, riding out the momentum that the Utah Jazz will try to come in with their initial wave in the first 5 minutes of this game. Withstanding that and being able to be poised throughout the rest of the game will be huge for this Mavericks team. I asked Maxi Kleber about that defensive effort, defending without fouling. Here's what Maxi Kleber told me about what the difference was between game 4 and 5 that allowed the Dallas Mavericks to be much better on the defensive end and not putting Utah on the free throw line. Here's what he told me.
What was the biggest difference between games 4 and 5? You guys put Utah on the line 42 times in game 4, only 21 times in game 5. What was the biggest difference between games 4 and 5 in that respect there?
I think from our side, we were better in executing our defensive plan. You know, we didn't give them as many free throws. We played with better pace on defense too, not just on offense. But whenever we had we read the situations good, so they didn't have as many attacks to the basket as before, and not as many open looks. Obviously, they didn't make their shots, but I think the biggest thing that we did was clean up the big mistakes that we had, and that lead to open layups and foul trouble and stuff like that.
So Maxi Kleber saying, look, we executed our defensive game plan much better in game number 5 versus what we did in game 4. Our ability to rotate and be able to guard without fouling was huge in that game. And obviously going forward for the rest of the series, whether it be game number 6 or a possible game 7, the Dallas Mavericks have the right stuff to be able to get this done on the road. Can they finish it off? Can Luka Doncic, who came out of the game clean in game 5 as well, looks to continue to build on what was a terrific performance in game number 5, having 13 rebounds, all of them coming on the defensive glass. His ability to erase the glass with his defensive rebounding to get this team out of transition when they pick their spots to be able to do so. But more importantly, ending Utah's possessions on one-and-done shot opportunities was massive in Game 5 that led to the dominant defensive effort that they had. If they can do that, the bench knocking down shots, the defensive rebounding what it needs to be, and initially withstanding that initial wave of momentum that the Jazz will look to use in game number 6, the Mavericks have a good shot of winning this game. They have the best player on the floor in Luka Doncic, and he's healthy now. So that's going to be massive for them going into this game. Can they respond and be able to walk out of Utah with the win in game 6, or will we be back in Dallas for a game number 7 where Dallas will look to try and win their first playoff series since 2011? It's going to be a lot of fun to see this Dallas Mavericks team, this young team, be able to try and withstand and then deal with Utah, win this game on the road, and do something that they weren't able to do last year against the Los Angeles Clippers. Close out their Western Conference opponent in the first round to move on. The Mavericks know the task at hand, and that task will be in Game 6 on the road in a raucous environment. Donovan Mitchell says he's good to go with the bilateral quadriceps bruises and whatever he's got going on. He says he's going to be good to go and ready for Game 6. The Mavericks will have to put the Jazz away. They won't go away quietly, but they have the right makeup to do it. This has been another episode of Inside the Mavs right here on Kevin Gray Sports. Again, you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Hit that subscribe button right there for all things Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube. And subscribe to the Gray Area Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts for free. Just search the Gray Area. This has been another episode of Inside the Mavs right here on Kevin Gray Sports. My name is Kevin Gray. I'll talk to you later. Peace.